Yeah.
We
It
lowered
was like in the day,
our 1968 bill,
and I came home.
10 years of work.
Right, but not the next day.
We've lowered
No,
the summer
that's tough.
It's hard to.
by
Yeah.
10
It's hard, but it's doable. I've been working.
And
Yeah.
It means you avoid the
bills
booze.
went way
Yeah,
up.
exactly.
It's not
Not a bad thing.
No,
But it
I
was a
know.
lot of money.
We're the same.
Yeah.
So when I say fuel.
And the great thing about the way
Experience,
Crave
right?
does it is they definitely don't put any scores up.
We went in.
There are no scores. So you can navigate through to find a game where
Counselors? It's time. Oh, I'm just waiting for two of them to come and sit down. Okay, welcome everybody, welcome the people in the gallery, and welcome to the regular meeting of Tuesday, July the 7th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And sorry for the couple minutes, we had to get caught up on World Cup for a few minutes, so we're 2 minutes late starting. We would like to acknowledge the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Taha, the Silks and the Snacks people, and is home to the Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honor their connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of the environment to our strength as a community. I have one late item here for introduction, and that is regarding development cost charges. So we see it here, it is. Connection fees and development cost charges. The RFP has been circulated to all of you, and if it's that's acceptable, then can I have a mover to accept the late item? Moved by Councillor Page, seconded by Councillor Woodward. All those in favor? And that carries, so that will be discussed at the end of the evening. And so then could I have an adoption of the agenda as amended? Moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Lochtenberg. All those in favor? And that carries. If we could have an adoption of minutes of the previous meeting of June the 9th. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Payne, seconded by Councillor Woodward. Any errors or omissions? Councillor Payne?
No.
Oh,
Right, I was ready.
you were already jumping on to the next one. Whew.
Jumping on.
I've never seen hands up so fast in this room. This is
We're making it happen tonight.
this is great. Okay, so all those in favor of the meetings then? And thank you. Item number 6, requests. So we have some requests of some proposed resolutions to go forward to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to make sure that they get it on their docket for their upcoming meeting in July. So council is being asked to consider endorsing 2 resolutions for submission to the FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, for the July 13th submission deadline. The proposed resolutions request that FCM undertake research and development recommendations on federal policy matters related to 1, innovative financial tools and speculative residential real estate investment, and 2, systemic algorithmic risks associated with online platforms. Endorsement by council would authorize the city to submit the resolutions for consideration through FCM's national resolution process.
Move, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Woodward. Seconded by Councillor Page. And I think we can do both these together. Is everybody happy with that if we do them together? Okay, any need for any conversation, councillors? Seeing none, that's been moved and second. All those in favor? And that carries. There we go. So those will be off, and we'll be sure that Councillor Page will no doubt be letting them know that those are coming to make sure it gets on their docket for July, or at the latest their September meeting. Thank you for your work on that, Councillor Page. So item number 7, building bylaw amendment. So staff are proposing amendments to the City of Nelson Building Bylaw 3456 2019 to adopt higher performance requirements for Part 9 buildings, generally low-rise residential and small buildings, under the BC Energy Step Code and the BC Zero Carbon Step Code, ZCSC. Recommended phased approach for Part 9 is effective December 31st, 2026, Energy Step Code 4 and Zero Carbon EL3, effective December 31st, 2028, Zero Carbon EL4. Step 4 remains in place. So tonight the request is for council to give first 3 readings to building bylaw amendment, Energy Step Code 4 and Zero Carbon EL3, Bylaw 3654 2026, and building bylaw amendment, Zero Carbon EL4, Step 4 remaining, bylaw number 3664 2026. Councillors, there's been we had a last meeting, was it just last meeting, 2 weeks ago? June 9th, so a month ago. So we had a presentation regarding step code from the planning department. And they're here if we need a summary of that, or if people feel that they want to move ahead with something else. I see Councillor Lockton. Are you moving something?
No, I was gonna
Yeah.
ask a question.
Yeah, so do we have any further questions, or do we feel that we need a quick review, or is everybody okay? We'll just do questions.
Just a question, I guess.
Okay, so we're gonna start with Councillor Lochtenberg, then we'll move to Councillor Pinero.
Thank you, Mayor. So I guess my question will give you the opportunity to go into a bit of detail for the public to explain what these things are. So I'm gonna frame it this way. Why should we not go to EL4, so emissions level 4, given that 2030 is mandatory, and why are we going to EL3? So I'm setting it up so you can give the rationale.
No problem. When we first went out to talk to the building community, that was kind of our idea, to look at can the building community support just kind of holding it step 4. Because in just a few short months, probably in 6 months, I could expect that the BC building code will change, and that Part 9 buildings, which are small, simple, or simple buildings like single family, are going to move to step 4. So that will be the provincial minimum. And we were considering going to emission level 4 when we went out to the building community. And while they were supportive, we did hear from that community that they didn't fully understand it in some cases. So that is why we are recommending a staggered approach to the zero carbon. So we're gonna do emission level 3 and give folks a couple years to transition to emission level 4. I think that gives industry time to prepare and transition and get more experience. People can still always go beyond the minimums. That would just be the minimum from the city. So that was kind of our thinking once we understood that not every builder in the city had a full understanding of those requirements when we went out to speak.
And can I have a follow-up to his question? And so when do you foresee, so you see the step code within the next 6 months, when do you see EL4? When is that gonna be when will that, do you foresee be a building code requirement provincially?
Yeah, so they haven't put out a timeline for when you would have to move along the zero carbon step code. Right now it's minimum is emission level 1, which is just reporting. And then we know by 2030, that is gonna be the provincial standard, which is emission level 4.
Okay.
So, and I think it's up to communities to decide how they wanna get there. That's kind of my interpretation.
Councillor Pinero, then Councillor Payne.
So I just got this email the other day, I think we all did, from the chamber, and they brought up a bunch of points, and basically, I don't wanna misquote or anything, thing, but paraphrasing one of the points, was that they feel that moving this forward out of step with the provincial guidelines would somehow put the building community under pressure, and we wouldn't be able to adapt, and therefore we would, for any sort of construction or development, we would have to go outside of the community for those jobs. And what I see in the report is that you have actually consulted with the building community, and I'm wondering where the disconnect there is, and if we have consulted with the building community, which apparently we have, are you confident that we have the capacity here to absorb any of those changes and move forward so that we are, you know, maximizing productivity in our community and people the opportunity to work in their field and not have to bring people in? Is that something that, having spoken to those people, that you're confident that we have that breadth of knowledge here?
Yeah, no, unfortunately I did not get that email from the chamber, but I am happy to follow up with Tom and just get some more details on that after the meeting. I do actually feel for Part 9 buildings, which is what the amendments are for today, the data is showing us that our builders can achieve these quite easily. That is the minimum is step 4 in our community. We've been kind of achieving it now for quite a few years. And in terms of emission level, I think it was 12 out of 13 projects were hitting emission level 3 or higher. So I do think that we have the skill set here locally. I wonder if maybe they're referring to Part 3 buildings, which are the bigger, more complex buildings, and maybe they're not clear on the amendments today. I think those ones would need special consideration, and I can reach out to the chamber to see if maybe that's where the misunderstanding is.
It's quite a long letter and there's a few things, but generally, I think I'm not exaggerating. I think most of them are sort of like that, like they're things that are addressed. I just don't know to what depth or to what, you know, level they seem to be unhappy with something, but I'm not sure for the seeing them on that. But it would be good to know.
It would be good to know. Based on the engagement that we did with our local building community, and we did talk both about Part 3 and about Part 9, there wasn't hesitation in either of those from our building community. But Part 3 buildings are a little bit different in that the bigger buildings often have consultants and builders from outside of Nelson, because we don't always have the capacity. They don't always, because people bid on those projects from all over the place. But for Part 9, for single family, duplex, that sort of thing, I really do believe we have the capacity here in the city of Nelson. So.
Thank you.
Councillor Payne, then Councillor Ogdenberg.
So I just wanna say out loud what I've heard and read in the report. So we have around 10 to 12 contractors who are building at that level, approximately 10 to 15 homes per year. And many already are meeting or exceeding step 4, and I'm sure also EL4. So I'm really concerned that we're holding that. I know we're not holding that community back, but how do we incentivize the other contractors to take advantage of the education that's been widely available for free? Much of it is free and widely available for step code since 2017 when it was introduced. Because I think there's significant advantages in going to EL4. And I personally would say that education piece of saying, okay, everybody, we'd like you to learn EL3, and then 2 years from now, we'd like you to learn something new to add on to it. Wouldn't it just be less painful to just go to 4, learn what you need for 4? And obviously 3 is going to be included in that, but I don't think these are hugely significant. I'm not a builder, did build, had a good experience, not good experience, let's just say building your own house is not ever a good experience. If it is, tell me. But yeah, I think and in addition to that, so are we serving our contractor community by not setting the bar high, which is what we've always done in a leadership role, especially around climate. And as we look around us today, we see what James Hansen, the NASA scientist, called the storms of our grandchildren. They're here now. So we're doing a disservice to homeowners building their homes if we're not going to the highest possible level. Because those homes will need to be standing and withstanding climate that we don't really understand right now. So I strongly encourage us, in addition to step 4, to go to EL4. I know it wasn't clearly demonstrated because there just hasn't been enough data yet, but I have been on a number of webinars through the Community Energy Association that talked about the cost increases are not significant, but the investment now leads to a huge payback over the life of those homes when we insulate and do all the other energy efficiency plus zero carbon methods that we can take advantage of. So that would be my recommendation. I don't know in any job that I've been at if they said, we want you to learn this new process here, knowing that in 2 years you're gonna be learning something new. Like, here's the accounting system. Could you learn this one now? And then 2 years from now, we're gonna give you more? Why don't we just go to the new accounting system, figure that one out, and keep going, especially if it offers benefits greater than what we're working with now. Not a question, sorry. I just
That's
wanted
okay.
to make sure that I had summarized what I had heard. Is there anything in what I said that wasn't included in your report? Other than, Jane Hansen in terms of our grandchildren.
No, I think that does summarize the report. We just wanted to make sure that all the builders were coming along. So that is why we recommended a gradual step. I think we have a really great building community here, and if we move to the regulations up to EL4, I'm sure that they could achieve it. But and there is lots of opportunities for education, and I think they're very dialed on the building science aspect. The zero carbon is really working with your energy advisor on the mechanical systems, and I don't know if Mike wants to speak to that too, but it's just a different sort of investment in your education. And that's why we thought a staggered approach would be better for our community based on the engagement that we did, but of course council could go beyond that.
But aren't we asking them to do that education twice as a small business owner? Do I want to invest in my employees to spend whatever number of hours it is now and then to do the whole thing all over again? Because those hours are out of productivity when I do that. From a business perspective, I would want them to get the highest level of information now in one shot.
The step code and the zero carbon, I think, are intentionally stepped so that you learn that energy efficiency or you learn that zero carbon step and then you move on to the next. And lots of communities have jumped. They have skipped a bunch of steps and gone forward, but it really was designed so that people could get that experience, learn that system, and then move on. It is intentionally designed that way, but many communities have skipped also. So I think both approaches have worked in other communities and could potentially work here. It was just our recommendation based on our engagement.
Councilor Eidberg.
I would just to speak to the Chamber's letter and to build on what Councillor Payne is saying, that it's important to separate the step code versus the zero carbon step code. I think the Chamber's letter was really about the step code, not the zero carbon step code. Like when they do mention electrification at one point, but then but it's kind of conflated with electrification in general, that it would require more infrastructure, that kind of thing. A lot of houses, and I think you even said this, are built full electrified. We do it all the time. So many houses are built, probably every developer or every contractor has built in effect an EL4 house. So they know how to do it. It's not that complicated. The letter does speak to step code being more complicated, because you're talking about the building envelope and that kind of thing, for sure, I get that. And so in terms of the energy step code, I definitely appreciate the stepped approach. With the zero carbon step code, it doesn't make as much sense. I think it does add complexity to Councillor Payne's point. Like, for example, a mixed fuel heat pump is more complicated than just a regular electric heat pump. As a fully electric home, we have a heat pump and we have baseboard heating too. We never use the baseboard heating. Like the heat pump is totally sufficient for creating a low cost and really effective home heating solution. The one where I can imagine an argument for not going directly to EL4, but it is a bit of a stretch. It's more of a culture shift around maybe cooking, like people like gas stoves for cooking. But I think the health impacts that are now known, especially for the last year or two with indoor gas stoves, is pretty significant. The amount of indoor pollution and the health impacts of that, it's being phased out, I think, pretty quickly. We just didn't know before. It was nice to have that quick instant heat. It's a nice cooking environment, totally, but nobody knew about the health effects of indoor fuel or indoor gas stoves. Now we do. And so now induction stoves are amazing alternatives and are super efficient and instant heat too. So I understand the Chamber's point on the step code, taking it a little bit more stepped. On the zero carbon step code, I think it just makes sense to go to EL4. It's just for everybody, ease, better for the contractors, and just they gotta get there anyways.
Councilor Ward.
Thank you, Mayor.
We're done.
It's nice.
Ran out of electricity.
It's actually really fun.
Give my eyeballs a break.
It's fine.
Oh gosh, turn it back on again.
So I just wanted to ask you both,
It's okay.
if council decided to go EL4, other than maybe some worries that you've mentioned about the ability for contractors to match the moment, would there be, do you think there could be some kind of like situation where a developer might be like, you know what, I'm not gonna develop this building in Nelson because they have EL4? Or is that a false worry?
I would say that's a false worry. It's important to note earlier that you can still meet EL4 with gas cooking. You can still meet EL4 with dual fuel gas systems. So it all comes down to how that building's being modelled by your energy advisor. So I don't see it as a big hurdle.
Just a supplemental, Mayor?
Yeah.
Thank you. So how I understand this is that you actually get your building when you're in the design phase, and you're doing this work in the design phase, you're not actually adding some kind of massive cost because you decided in you're building from the start out with that in mind. That's right. There's not all of a sudden at the end of the build there's some 10 or 20% increase. You've actually planned it all out and you've had your energy advisor looking at your plans to start with. Is that correct?
We don't accept a building permit without a pre-construction compliance report that's produced by an energy advisor. So it's all laid out from the start. Yeah. The cost should be well aware from the start.
And mid-construction blower door.
Yeah, the energy advisor is involved normally at 3 points of the project. It's the pre-construction compliance report. It's optional. They can come and do a mid-construction. It's called a blower door test, where they test for air leakage in the home. That's a requirement that must be met to meet levels of step code. And then they're brought in at the end of the project to do another blower door test, and they ensure that the building is built in the exact way that it was modelled. So insulation, mechanical systems, air tightness, they're all as it was modelled. Windows, everything's involved. And us as building officials, we're also cross-referencing that pre-construction compliance report as the project is progressing.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So Tate.
I have a question, and this is a little bit of a thought experiment. There are some municipalities that are talking about like Vancouver, right, about stepping back on stepping back. What is the like risk provincially in terms of some kind of oversight or overregulation, or is it possible for them to undo what we have done in our own bylaws? I'm just curious.
I think that we can always go beyond the provincial minimums. We can't go below them. If the province for some reason pauses step code or the government shifts and they get rid of it, then council could always amend our bylaws at that time. I think I mentioned this at the last meeting too. The step code is being looked at across the province, and they're actually gonna be implementing it into a harmonized building code across the country. And so it's going to be adopted, a version of it anyway, nationally. So I think, yeah, I mean, I guess I can't say for sure what will happen at the provincial level, but they could change it in theory. But I think it is kind of becoming a standard that everybody is accepting at the same time.
Yeah, thanks. That was interesting, because I've had lots of conversations about this. I'm sure you guys have all had lots of conversations about this. And I just keep coming back to thinking like it is quite incremental. It's not like every single house is going to have a heat pump, right? That's not how this works. And it just feels like the next right thing to do. You know, when we're just like this one little city council, and like what can we just do that's the next most right thing? And I really keep landing there just in terms of those little pieces that we can do to make that little difference and just show a bit of leadership as well, which we don't ever want to be the most high, the best of everything, but because we have really competent building community and not a lot of building in a year, it does feel like a really clever way to make an impact. I like it. And I'd be in support of going to the EL4 for the new builds as well.
Okay, so council, anybody else got any questions for staff while they're here?
Can I just ask, to me, the risk is more on the homeowner, because we don't have fixed price builders.
Yeah.
You get billed what how many hours the person puts into the thing, and if they didn't do they didn't build it exactly to the modeling. I haven't seen a builder that says, oh, okay, well, sorry, we'll fix that for nothing. So how do we educate the homeowner, because they're the ones footing the bill if the thing doesn't get quite built to meet the standards, etc. To me, that's where more of the work has to be done, is with those homeowners, because they're mostly custom built. They're, you're on the, most people don't have a fixed price contract. They pay for whatever the cost it is of those builders building this thing. So to me, that's where the bigger risk is, that the homeowner is educated enough to ensure that whatever their contract ensures that, that if the builder didn't get it right the first time, they're not now on the hook of rework and all that stuff.
You're having to pull out the
that
drywall
happens.
to put in a new
Right.
vapor barrier or whatever.
Yeah.
That's why you have the mid-blower door before drywall.
Before and after, yeah.
Anyway, that's my experience, is that, because that's just the nature of our custom built individual unsophisticated homeowners that are kind of hoping everything goes well. And any home builder out there that can say, oh geez, yeah, it just came in right on budget and under budget by, I'm not sure Leslie if yours did, but yeah.
I stopped adding that up.
Right? So that to me is the biggest risk. So I think that's where the work needs to be done, is how do we educate and maybe support the homeowner kind of contract. How do they make sure that these additional, every time you make it more complicated, more difficult to meet things, the risk is on the homeowner, not the builder.
I would say step code is pretty well understood. I know people can make mistakes for sure. I think our building community though has been doing it now for quite a few years, like over 6 years, and I think they're getting better at it. I think, yeah, there's always a risk to that. So I think, I don't know if the city, but maybe there's some guides the step code has put out related to that, and so maybe we can look that up and put that on our website, cause we do have a Let's Talk page about that. As far as emission level requirements, I think you really just have to follow what's in those plans. Whatever your energy advisor has kind of laid out for mechanical systems, I think you need to meet those and follow those. Step code is a
But
different thing
again,
with
you
your
need to
antennas.
understand which one, what is the right mechanical system, because there's a variety, right? It's just challenging, as any of us that have built have recognized the challenge of these things.
But the design team is the important component of
Yeah.
it. It's not just a contractor and a homeowner, it's the design team.
And if those two don't get it right, then it's a homeowner paying.
So I guess that's, listening to that, my question is, so I hire the contractor, I have the energy efficiency person, and it gets all said and done, and my house isn't step code 4 or EL4, do I not get an occupancy permit?
No, we haven't had that happen. But you do need to meet the minimums. So whatever we decide as our minimums, they need to be met.
Okay, so basically if at the end of the day, I thought everybody's worked together and done everything right, and the proverbial fly in the ointment, and my last blower door test comes back and there's something wrong and I have not met the standard, I do not get an occupancy permit. I just need to get that clear in my head. So that would be correct, okay, thanks.
And that because one, it will be in our bylaw, but very soon it'll be part of the BC building code.
Right.
So anything that doesn't meet the BC building code, you wouldn't be able to kind of close your permit, so that's how it works, with all building code related.
Yeah.
And so those deficiencies, isn't the contractor responsible for them?
They are, but they charge you.
Depends on your contract, I guess.
Okay, I'm gonna
Depends on your
go,
contractor.
I think I've heard from him, I think I've heard, okay, I've heard from everybody, so I'm gonna go Woodward, Pinero, Page.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just looking at our Nelson Next document and looking at aspiration 2, infrastructure and buildings in Nelson are zero carbon and resilient. This was we took 2 years to build this document 2 years ago with deep input by the community. And as Councillor Tate said, I think this is one of those moments where we could be guided by our guiding documents. So I feel like, and the number one strategy here is new buildings are net zero ready and have low embodied carbon and are resilient against climate change. So I feel like this has been, this is a very important piece of documentation for the city. So yeah, just gonna state that.
Councilor Pinero.
I don't have any issue with what staff has put forward as a phased approach. It's 2 years, and I think the point of consulting with the community, there really isn't a point here, or especially the community that actually builds houses. And I would say, to Kevin's point, like homeowners are, they need to be educated and what have you. I'm assuming a lot of education from a homeowner perspective comes from the building community. When you hire somebody to build your house, they're gonna tell you what you need to do. And if that community needs, I don't know what they said, but if they need a couple of years to get on pace, we're already, like, we're still going ahead. We're still way ahead of the curve. We're already ahead of the curve, and this is a little bit more ahead of the curve, but it still, I think, respects the feedback and the wishes of a very important sector of the community that actually builds these houses. And we don't, I think we don't wanna leave those people behind. I'm sure they will scramble and they'll figure it out. That's true. Also, at what, I don't quite understand the point of ignoring them if we're gonna consult them. And so I'm happy with what you guys have put forward. I feel like we are ahead of the game. demonstrably. And I don't see why we need to tip people over and cause any sort of discomfort for our building community. If they're already on board, and I seem to be, like, we have a great knowledgeable building community, they're on board with all of this, we're gonna get to the target by 2028, and why is that? I think we have to, I personally feel like the point of consulting with experts is that we listen to what they have to say.
Counselor Page.
Thanks. Yeah, we've been working on this continuum and making some adjustments. Based on what I'm hearing, what I'm thinking about is going to EL4 mostly seems to cut out cooking appliances. That's the majority of what I've understood is between your water heater, your furnace, and building heat. That, like, you're gonna reach those targets for EL4 for zero carbon, for cutting out cooking appliances. And so does that mean that as a builder you can't necessarily plumb it in for gas and put an electric? Like, how does the homeowner lose all opportunity in an EL4 home to have a gas hookup? Or could they just put a gas hookup and install it?
In for part 9,
Yeah.
it's a bit different for part 3. For part 9, you can still have gas cooking, it can still be modeled in. And you can even still have a dual fuel heat pump where there is natural gas paired with an electric cooling system, commercial heating system. So you can still have natural gas to emission level 4 homes. It's just a further restriction on the greenhouse gas emissions associated with that building. The mechanical systems have to be more efficient. Yeah, so you can still have those things and people can still have natural gas to the property and likely still will. Yeah.
Yep, okay, so there's that flexibility, and then the supplemental?
Mhm.
How many homes have been hitting EL4 then? Where are we landing on that? I'll just say I'm sympathetic to the idea that we kind of train once versus like every 2 years. It's not a change. That amount of shift and change is also adds to this regulatory fatigue that people feel. And then the building code captures it all anyway. But I am curious how many of our new builds are getting close to EL4 already.
We have that data.
We
have that data. Yeah, and it's quite a lot.
Yeah, it's a better system. People are doing it already.
And we're finding, people are modeling EL1, EL2, and at the end of the project, they're coming out at EL3 and EL4.
Yeah.
Quite often.
Have you had any feedback from Maple Ridge has done this already? Gone to EL4, is that true? Or they're about to?
Most coastal regions have gone there already. Yep. Whistler have gone there already, and they're in a colder climate zone. Nelson would be the first of the interior areas.
So I was thinking Maple Ridge is kind of like slightly separate, but not really.
But interestingly enough, Nelson is in climate zone 5 and a lot of climate zone 5 has actually gone to emission level 4. A lot of that actually also includes the island. So we do know that it is possible here. And I looked at the stats, I couldn't find the completed projects, so I can send that afterwards, but we had 11 projects, or 40% of our projects were hitting emission level 4 in their proposed reports. So.
My last comment is I'd almost just, if there was any hesitation about talking, I'd just do the whole deal for 2007. I probably also want to get another one now. But I think there's some sense around the table, maybe going further.
Councilor Leitenberg.
Yeah, I would go further. I would just go straight to EL4 now. And to Councillor Pinero's point, again, I think there's some except between the step code and the zero carbon step code. I think the building community's concern isn't the zero carbon step code so much because they do largely build for at least 40%, as I said, already do it. 40% of buildings, I bet you 100% of contractors do it because it's not that complicated. It's just a house that's generally electric, heating, water that's electric. A lot of our houses going back to the 2010s are like that. So it's not complicated. I don't think the building community is what is concerned about that. It's the step code part that they would be, so the feedback, I'm sure if you did separate them out, they wouldn't have problems with EL4. And again, even the chamber's letter, if you parsed it, didn't sound like the issue was EL4, it was referencing the step code in terms of their concern. I think EL4 in general, again, I think Councillor Payne's original point is kind of bang on, it's just simpler. Like let's just go straight to it, let's not complicate the process too much by stepping through EL3. And I think in general too, the reason why we should keep the pace up is because we've set those targets, and those targets we're way behind on already, all of us, all of society. So even just trying to find parity with other interior municipalities is not something we should be achieving or aiming for. We've gotta keep the momentum up. And so in this case, I think it's simpler. Two, I don't think the contractors, the building community would have an issue particularly with this one. I think there's some on the margins around, an attachment to gas, and to your point, I guess I had thought that gas was only for your gas fireplace or your exterior gas, but you're right, it's the stove as well. So even that isn't an issue. So not a lot of reason to not just go right to EL4.
Okay, councillors, I'm gonna be very generous here this evening on this discussion because I'm hearing lots of things and I know where this discussion is going, but I'm gonna be letting somebody else lead this one. I've been quite busy already today. So Councillor Woodward and then Councillor Panero for last, and then we are going to make some decisions.
Just a quick question is, it's never gonna be cheaper to do this work now. It's only gonna get more expensive to do the work. So if we just set the precedent now, and people who are building now and in the next few years, it's like it'll be far more expensive in 10 years or 5 years. So.
Councillor Panero.
Okay, super quick. If that's true, then I have no problem with that at all. The thing, everything you said makes sense to me. I'm just a bit hung up on when we consulted with people. Councillor Lockenberg can say that he doesn't think that the building community has an issue with that. But what did the building community have an issue with? Because they had an issue with something that made them want to phase this in slower. And I'm just curious what that was. Because if it isn't that, like you said, then let's go. I'm completely into it. It's just that one, these people do this for a living, and I think that needs to be respected. So what did they have a problem with specifically? And if it wasn't EL4, then we're good, I think.
I think actually it was kind of a bit different than what the chamber's letter, and again, I have not seen the chamber, but just from what I gleaned here, our building community, from the builders that we spoke with, were both okay with moving forward with the step code, and I think they really understand the step code. They were also okay with moving forward with zero carbon. However, when we were talking to them, it was pretty clear that some of them had less understanding of the zero carbon step code, and there was some questions around it, and they didn't understand. I've gone all electric, I'm still not hitting EL4. Or I put in a dual fuel system, I am hitting EL4. There were some questions, and I can't use certain mechanical equipment anymore. So then we brought in a Part 3 and a Part 9 energy advisor, and they did a presentation, and people are able to answer their question. So the reason we implemented a phased approach wasn't because the builders were concerned. It was more just we could see that not everybody had the same level of understanding on zero carbon. Actually, they all generally supported it. I don't know if that helps clarify, but I just wanted to give a phased approach just to give them time to catch up. So.
Okay, councillors, there are 5 resolutions before us. And
Are we then proposing that we only pass 3 and 4 bylaw 3664 and amend it to say December 2026?
Would be the privilege of the table. I think that, do we have to, can we just eliminate some of these, or can we just,
I'm just looking at it.
or just make a new one?
One of them is to do the thing we're doing, but in 2028.
Yes,
It's like-
but there's a big change to the 16.3 to 16.5. It repeals, so building bylaw amendment number 3456.
3654.
Or whatever, yeah, 3654. Deletes the section 16.2 to 16.5 and then replaces it. So
Why don't we just do first 2 readings?
we could do that. And then third reading is given as amended.
Yeah.
Or we can just,
The only
That's probably
change is to 16.2 where you change emission level 3 to emission level 4 in 16.2, or you could do first 2 readings.
isn't it just easiest to do if
Just
that's
that.
the only
We've got no
edit?
recommendations on the table yet.
Nothing.
So I am curious as to why I'm hearing this, that there is a thought around the table to go to step code, step 4 and zero carbon EL4 in 2026. Can that not just be the resolution that's passed?
16.2 just needs to change. Except that we have the bylaw.
It's a bylaw.
It's a bylaw.
We have to change the bylaw.
Wasn't this changing the bylaw?
This is a
Were
draft.
these
bylaw.
resolutions
Okay,
changing the
I get
bylaw?
what you're saying. So adopt 1 just as is, and adopt resolution 2 as amended. It's you.
Why don't, well, you could just adopt, well, it's amended, as amended.
This is a description of bylaws, not the action.
No, well, the bylaw is on the back, it's attached to the,
So it's the bylaw that has to change.
but
Amended
only,
in resolution 2.
1 and 2 is EL4.
Why don't we, if we just do 1 and 2, we can bring it back on the 21st and do third reading, and I think we'll be basically on the same timelines, right? I guess this isn't happening
for another
until,
6 months, doesn't, we have time.
Yeah.
It's happening in
So-
5 months. So
yeah, so why don't we just do 1 and 2, we can change the bylaw, bring it back as the actual bylaw that you wanna pass, and there's no urgency to change that on the fly tonight.
I'm still really confused, so you have to tell me again this,
So
because number 2 is reading it for a third time, and
But we're
usually when
not
we
doing
read
that.
third time,
we're just doing
we're bringing it
one,
back.
we're just doing 1 and 2, and then
What's
we're
1 and 2,
No, 1 and 3, we're gonna do it.
first and second time by title only
right?
for the first resolution. And then we're not
Okay.
doing any more. And then we're going to bring it back to the next regular meeting in August for third reading as amended to change it from step
EL.
EL3 to EL4. And then it'll be adopted in September.
And I think we can still do 5 tonight if we want to. Recommendation.
Oh, and we can do 5, yes, sorry, yes.
Okay, so as long as everybody's got that, I guess somebody can move recommendation number 1.
So should we move to strike 2, 3, and 4, or do we just vote them down, or do you just
We just
not
don't-
move them?
we don't-
We're not moving them.
Just not move
Yeah,
them,
we're not
okay.
moving them.
Gotcha.
Okay, moved by Councillor Lochtenberg, seconded by Councillor Woodward. So, Councillor Lochtenberg, do you have that up there so you can read it out to the public?
That the Corporation of the City of Nelson Building Amendment, Energy Step Code, Step 4 plus zero carbon EL3 bylaw number 3654 2026 be introduced and read a first and second time by title only.
Okay, councillors, that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? And that carries. Anybody opposed?
I just wanted to hear
I-
EL
no, like-
four, it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
You wanna-
Okay.
Well, that's what I don't understand, I'm
I'm
still
not-
trying
I'm
to
not
figure out why I
opposed.
can't say EL four,
Yeah, I
if you
don't know
guys
why
want
we
EL
can't
four,
change that
why
here
isn't it
now.
saying EL four?
Yeah,
If
why
we're
don't we
changing the
just
bylaw.
say
It feels like we do.
emission levels
Well,
for EL
'cause it-
four?
My understanding is because in that resolutions, it's referencing the bylaw as written.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
so we have to speak to the bylaw as written, they'll bring it back amended. So when they bring it back, it'll be EL four.
And it'll be third reading.
And
if
it'll
you
be
wanna
third
pass a resolution that says, please bring back, the bylaw amended to adopt EL four,
Okay, before we get,
the
okay,
date we want EL four is.
okay. So this is, number one's been moved and seconded, we have to do this. Can I have the vote? So we voted, you didn't wanna go down as recorded opposed, you're okay.
Not
Okay,
opposed, I just
So
want
that's all in
clarity that
favor, so
voting
that
for.
carries.
So you pass first two readings of the bylaw as current, now you can pass a resolution to say, please amend this bylaw to have EL four at, it's supposed to come in December.
2026.
December 31st, 2026.
If you wanna pass that resolution, then directs us to bring this back that way.
Okay, I'll move that. Can I move that? Okay, I'll move that.
You okay with that? You've got what we need, sir?
I'll move that.
Whatever.
Okay, so recommendation to bring back amended version that says EL four December 31, 2026. So 5 months. Okay. Moved by Woodward, seconded by Payne. Any discussion? Ooh, now we're all quiet. Let's see if we all raise up our hands again.
We'll fight later.
Okay,
We'll find something.
all those in favor? And that carries.
And I'll move
And you're gonna move number five? Okay.
thanks.
Number 5, Tate, seconder. Woodward, Tate, please, the,
Council directs staff to return in 2027 with recommendations regarding future energy step code and zero carbon step code requirements for part 3 buildings.
okay, that's been moved and seconded. Anybody need further on that? So part 3 buildings are the big buildings versus the small buildings. Okay, all those in favor? And that carries. Okay, thank you very much, councillors. Thank you, staff, for bringing that forward and moving us along.
Thank you guys.
Next up, we have some further recommendations from staff. We have 8A, the Cube 2.0 lease terms. Staff are seeking council's approval to amend its previous direction regarding the lease term for the Cube 2.0 project at 820 10th Street. While council has already approved the site location, directed staff to finalize the land agreement, approve a 10-year nominal rent period in principle, and agree to providing letters of support for grant applications, staff now recommend authorizing a 25-year initial ground lease with one 25-year renewal option. The longer lease term better reflects the construction of a permanent facility on city-owned land, supports funding and financial requirements, and provides long-term certainty while preserving council's previous direction that the first 10 years of the lease be provided at nominal rent. So there's quite a lot of information there, and there is a recommendation moved by Councillor Page. Is there a seconder? Councillor Woodward, Councillor Page.
Council amended its previous direction regarding Cube 2.0 project at 820 10th Street by authorizing the city to enter into a ground lease with the Community Climbing Association for an initial term of 25 years, with one option to renew for further 25 years, with the first 10 years of the initial term to remain at a nominal rent as previously approved by council. And further, that all the resolution previously adopted by council respecting Cube 2.0 project, including the approval of site location, staff's authority to finalize the site details and document them in the land agreement, and the city's commitment to provide letters of support for grant applications remain unchanged.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Councillor Payne.
I just have a question about communication. Public notice will be provided for property disposition. When I looked up property disposition, is that different? Because when I looked that up, it said legal, financial, and tax processes of selling, transferring, or disposing. So disposition and disposal, are they,
Yeah, so
help me understand that.
any time we lease land for longer than 5 years is considered a disposition. So the municipality does not have rights to that land for a long period of time. We have to let the community know that we're gonna do that.
Okay, so we still own it.
Yeah.
But we just, okay, that's what
We started giving up our rights to use it for a
Yes,
long period of time.
that's what I want clarity on, thank you. Figured it was something like that, but.
Okay, any other comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, and that carries. Okay, moving on to 8B, development variance permit application for 820 Victoria Street to vary requirements for interior lot line setback and citing exemptions. And staff is back at the table. So Development Services has received an application to vary zoning bylaw number 3652/2026 as follows. Section 10.12 R3, interior side lot line setback, to reduce the minimum required setback from the interior side property line from 1.0 meters to 0.52 meters. And section 5, and number 2, section 5.10, citing exemptions to reduce the allowable distance between roof eaves and the property line from 0.9 meters to 0.7 meters. Council is being requested to consider and approve the proposed variances.
Yeah, so I can just provide a little bit of context on this property. So the property is located in the Lower Uphill neighborhood. The existing home is estimated to have been built around 1905 during an earlier period of development in the neighborhood, and this was before modern zoning and subdivision standards were established. Many blocks in Lower Uphill and Nelson reflect the development patterns of this period, where buildings were typically located closer together and closer to property lines than what would be typically permitted under today's zoning regulations. These historic conditions contribute to the established character of the neighborhood, but they can also create challenges for older homes when they're renovated or expanded due to our current regulations. In this case, the existing house was built close to the interior property line and at a slight angle, so it results in a building setback that does not comply with our current zoning. Our staff have reviewed the application and it complies with all the other zoning regulations. The building footprint will also not be increased. They're using the existing footprint to build upward on the home. The variances are needed because we approved our new variance criteria and it exceeds that 20% threshold at which a variance can still be considered minor. And also the Local Government Act dictates that you can't increase a nonconformity, so the variance would help to bring it into conformity. And their variances would also help retain an existing home in the Uphill neighborhood. And staff have concerns that requiring the applicant to adhere to the setback could create undesirable outcomes for the streetscape by creating an asymmetrical facade or resulting in an unfavorable demolition on the block. We circulated notice to the neighbors and we received 4 comments in favor and 1 comment in concern, as well as our other city staff and departments, and no concerns were noted. So I'll take any questions.
Councillor Tate.
I have a question about when the houses get approved to be closer together than would be our typical setbacks. Do they have to have different or higher standard of fire separation on the outside?
Yeah, so they do have to meet the BC building code. So the main requirement that they have to adhere to is related to the fenestrations or openings on the side of the building wall. So typically they have very limited windows to prevent fire spread or no windows to prevent fire spread. And then in addition, there are certain standards in the building code that pertain to the roof eaves. And building staff and fire staff looked at the proposal and they're satisfied with the requirements as presented.
So it's not higher than the regular building code, it's just like the building code is good, it's solid, we're okay?
The closer you get to the property line, the more restrictions you have.
Okay, it does change, okay.
Sometimes, I'm not sure in this case, but sometimes they'll have to put non-combustible siding. Right. So the building code kind of addresses those concerns when they get close to the property line.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. I know there are, I'm just looking at this, I flew up this picture here and the closeness of the buildings. I know there's quite a few on uphill like this, and I guess number one, as Councillor Tate said, I'm always concerned about fire. How would you do this? But I was also wondering about repair, and if it's so tight, like how do you get in there to repair? And what does the building code say about these kind of situations? Because it would almost seem like you'd have to go in from the inside out to repair, because you couldn't actually, you might be able to just fit in here, but there are some that are like 3 or 4 inches away from the next building.
Yeah, that is a fair complaint. Typically, when a building sits in a really close threshold to the property line, there isn't any requirement to establish like an easement. So an easement's a legal agreement that allows people to maintain their property by accessing via another property. In this case, because the building is fully located on that, even though it's really close to the property line, there is no easement registered. But the neighbors do have quite a good relationship with their neighbor, and they've been very collaborative and sort of communicating the construction in a way that works with everybody. So typically we kind of rely on just goodwill and good neighbor civil partnership for things like that. But in certain situations, there are legal agreements that maintain legal access to that part of the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just have a question, as sort of a follow-up to what Councillor Tate was asking around fire and such and building code. When they do this extension, the extension has to comply with the building code. They don't have to bring the house up to code, because that would never happen. I mean, I own one of these, like that would be.
Yeah, that's.
Just tear it down instead of.
Yeah, no, that's correct. So we don't retroactively apply building code or zoning bylaw. It would be unreasonable to kind of retroactively apply those requirements. So just the new construction.
Just the new construction. I just want to be really clear about that, because when she was asking about its proximity and stuff, and like it has to meet the building code, it's like, no, the new has to meet the building code, not the old.
But if you went to put new siding where the existing siding is, the new siding would have to meet the building code of the reduced setback.
I don't know. You are always allowed under the local code act repair and maintain.
Okay.
I would have to check with the building
Yeah,
official.
like, I don't know
wanna get
that-
too far
yeah.
into the building code. I'm actually not allowed to.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I could ask them, and I could follow up in email just if you wanted to know. But I think there might be a repair and maintain that you can do. New would have to be the building code.
So in that example, like if the proposal had a new window, and you'd be like, ooh, we need to make sure it's depending, you may or may not be allowed a window.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Like typically, when you're that close to the property line, you either have to have a very reduced size, or only a certain percentage of windows can cover that side of the property, or you have to have fire shutters or something like that. So yeah.
I just wanted clarity on that, because I was sort of thinking, okay, that's the new will be a building code. Anyways, so Councillor Page has a question.
I'm curious about the one concern that we did get around the blocking, and I have been hearing, as we've been seeing more of these buildings show up and take form, a very tall, blocky, there were some good examples provided, I think other residents have pointed them out to me as well, and there's some stuff going on in Uphill. How can we start to address the massing of those third and second stories, and the way those roofs are being peaked? Because this will also be quite a block. It has a peak, but we need to address that concern specifically, or is there need for change in our approach?
So typically our zoning bylaws are what would help to regulate the massing. In this particular instance, the historic siting of the house, typically it would be set back kind of in that invisible box that the zoning creates, in a way that it doesn't impact sort of the neighboring properties, but in this instance, it's just too close to the property line.
if we were concerned with sort of massing and shadow casting and things like that, we could certainly look at our OCP design guidelines and zoning to evaluate if any changes need to be made there, but those are typically the avenues through which those things are addressed, so.
And single family homes like this one, there's no design guidelines. You kind of just meet the rules in the zoning bylaw. Only big buildings that you see downtown, we like look more closely at the design of them. And sometimes we do also, like Sarah was mentioning, for variances.
What are you guys hearing about that concern? Like that can't be the first time you've heard of the public say that the buildings are getting too tall and too blocky in these small neighborhoods.
I have heard that in the past, and we have, ever since we've had a zoning bylaw, it has been 10 meters in height was allowed in the R1 low density, which now we've changed it to small scale residential. I think now our land is becoming more valuable, and so people are kind of building up, and so I think you are seeing those taller homes. I think Nelson benefits from a very eclectic building stock. So right next to it is a house that is going to be the exact same height as this one.
Okay.
So I think it's kind of a mix, and I think you'll see like a tall house in an area where there's shorter houses, and I think those ones stand out a little bit more. But I think housing stock is always kind of evolving, and over time you'll see some of that older housing stock be replaced or modifications made. But I do occasionally hear that point, and I kind of mentioned that the rules have been substantially similar for many, many years. So.
The other thing to note in our most recent iteration of the zoning bylaw, so we actually modified the way that we calculate building height. As you may remember, because we were finding that the way we were calculating building height actually was more beneficial to sort of those flat, more modern style roofs. So now the way we calculate makes it easier for people to have that pitched roof, which can be more consistent with the character, especially that we see in lower uphill where there's quite a lot of those open gable form roofs as well, so, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. So,
I'll move one, Mayor.
okay,
Two?
yes, please.
Okay, I'll move one.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Tate. Councillor Wood.
So this is section 10 dot.
Oh, I think it starts above that and there is only one, if you go a bit
Oh,
higher.
yeah.
Only one,
sorry.
sorry, that's one,
Apologize.
sorry.
That the application for the development variance permit to be approved to vary the requirements of zoning bylaw 3652/2026, allowing for a new roof and rear second story addition on following properties collectively known as 820 Victoria Street. Can we read all that for the record? The lot 9.
Oh, no, we can probably pass those things.
Okay, that's all the PID numbers and such. And do you want me to read this as follows then, zoning bylaw?
Yes.
Number 3652/2026, this is number 1, section 10.12, R3 interior side lot line setback to reduce the minimum required setback from the interior side property line from 1 meter to 0.52 meters, and this is number 2, section 5.1, section .10. Sitting exemptions to reduce the allowable distance between roof eaves and property lines from 0.9 meters to 0.7 meters.
Okay, so that's been moved and seconded, all seeing no further questions, all those in favor? And that carries, thank you, councillors. Moving on, thank you, staff. Moving on to the thing I usually make the biggest mess of, information items, including correspondence and meetings of committees and commissions. And the first one I have up in my pile is the information items from councils, committees and commissions. There are 7 of them. We have minutes from the Cultural Development Committee, Nelson Public Library, 2 from Nelson Public Library, 3 from the Greater Nelson Economic Development Group 2 coordinating meetings and an advisory meeting, and we have the Nelson Housing Committee. They're all to be received for information. Is there anyone that wishes to draw one out for further discussion? Seeing no hands shooting up, is there a mover of items 1 through 7 for information? Moved by Councillor Woodward, is there a seconder?
Okay.
Seconded by Councillor Tate. So items 1 through 7 have been moved for receipt for information. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Thank you. Next up, we have information items proposed by staff, and we have 3 of them here. We have development services, we have finance, and we have corporate services. Is there anything that anybody wishes to pull out? Councillor Payne.
I think we need to pull out the development services monthly build report.
Okay, so we will pull that out. And is there someone that would like to move item 2 and 3?
I can move 2 and 3.
Okay, moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Woodward. All those in favor of receiving for information 2 and 3, and that carries. So here we are back at number 1. Councillor Payne, you have a question.
Yeah, I actually emailed earlier today to Director of Development Services, did I get that title right? About the numbers, and she acknowledged that there was a typo on there. An email did go out to all of council, but I don't know what the procedure is. Do we withdraw that report until we have the correct report, or?
I think we can just, amend or just note that it will be amended with the
Okay.
correct.
Okay, that was basically
The correct
it.
building.
Did I get that?
That's right. Just an extra 0, so.
Oh, where'd you put the extra? Oh,
On the millions.
yeah. I was like,
That
Where's
got
the
my
extra?
attention.
yeah.
I'm like, woohoo!
So
Yes.
you wanna just give the update, so
Yeah,
we get it on record?
The update, yes.
so the correct numbers, and then everybody will hear
Yes,
it.
I can give the update, just 1 second here. But basically, an extra 0 got added to the multi-unit residential building permit numbers, and so it said 75 million instead of 7.5 million. And then, so I did send council an email to that effect, letting them know. But then I've noticed, so we draw that report from a third party, and their numbers aren't kind of adding up necessarily, so I need to work with City Reporter to get that sorted out. So some of the building permit numbers are kind of not accurate, so I'll be working with them on that. And then I did provide council. The unit count though is actually correct. So.
Total for this period has got too many zeros as well.
Yeah, so we'll be reviewing that report. We'll take it off maybe and then have it amended, or we might have to make our own report if that one's not working from City Reporters.
So just to make the correction there, so that line that says total for this period is actually 8 million.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just for people that might be looking and listening.
Like,
So
what are
then-
you building?
And then
Where are you putting it?
year to date, I imagine, has a significant change.
I have a question that riffs off of that really nicely from our from some other curiosities I've had. So I notice on the BC provincial government website, you can Google like list of municipalities in BC by revenue, list of municipalities in BC by DCCs and building permit information. And so I was like, woo! And sometimes our cool little municipality has zeros. And is that a reporting thing? Is it because we might not like align with that? Maybe I'll send it out and you guys could talk about it at another report. I'm like, how come we're zeros here? I don't think we're 0. I think we're rad. Okay, I'll pass it around.
Send me the link and I'll
Yeah.
look into it. I'm not sure if it might be voluntary to
It
provide
could
that
be.
information or
There
not.
could be a threshold, and because we're small, we don't meet the threshold.
This is my question. That's
If you're
just my
listening.
I think
question.
it's a
We
threshold
don't wanna
thing.
hear from you or something.
Like, I don't think we're 0.
Looking at government reports, I would say we're not meeting the threshold.
Parkland acquisition.
Okay, noting that those corrections will be made, if somebody would like to move the development services report as amended. Councillor Payne, is there a seconder? Councillor Lochtenberg, all those in favor of the report as amended, and that carries. Thank you for that.
Can I just ask one question out of the payables? I think it was 179,000. Does that mean the elevator's finished or is there no? Because it didn't seem to be fully operational. I wanted to try it today. I said, oh, we spent a lot of money on the elevator, let's check it out.
So one is done,
Yeah, okay, the one is actually
yeah,
completed.
and they're working on the other one now. So that would be a draw.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no, I thought it was higher in the budgeting and I went, whoa, did we save some money there? But then I saw only one was working, so all good, we'll get there.
Yes,
Just now that they're fixed,
one's fixed.
one's fixed, and then the other one will be fixed. What's the lifespan now on those fixed elevators?
I think those ones have been in there since the building was built, so 50 years ago or whatever.
So do we get another 50 years? No, probably not. Maybe another 30.
Maybe
Yeah,
we
they're-
don't use them that much, start walking more.
Just as a.
They are a nice ride. Has anybody
Yeah.
been in the new one now?
Yeah,
I did,
great.
that's why I went today, I wanna see what
Smooth, it's
180,000
quiet.
feels like.
I don't get in and feel like this could be my last elevator ride.
Okay, that's
I'm
great.
holding my phone, no, I don't get enough.
Yeah, that's why I always think, I'm in here, do I have a phone?
Okay,
Not sensation anymore.
that was my question.
So we have one more, we have the late item. And so the late item is connection fees and development
Sorry, I have
costs.
correspondence, I know it doesn't have its own little thing, so I never know when to jump in with that.
Oh, I had correspondence, like she passed it as number 2, like she passed 2 and 3 together.
2 and 3? Oh, sorry, under reports.
Yeah, under reports, we passed them.
Just a quick thing, I saw the response to the lakeside washrooms, but my question was, I thought we had allocated some money in the budget to do an upgrade on those, not this year.
We had,
It was a request then that we didn't action?
we went to the regional district and
Okay,
asked them if they would help fund that, and they didn't put that in their budget. That's the bad news. The good news is CBT has come out with some new grants. One's called the Shore Grant, which seems to be a good fit for this. There's planning money available, so we're gonna do some to understand.
I think I did read that in the response letter.
Right, so
It was mainly the budget question that I was, because I did see that we were going for some CBT money,
Yeah.
but so there is some action.
yeah, so we'll do we'll apply for that grant, hopefully do the planning, we have to understand, make sure the structure and everything is fine before we put a bunch of money into it, so that's where we're at.
And then the other one was about the e-scooter letter. I didn't see a response to that, but it didn't make sense to me that a safety officer told him that he needed a license for his e-scooter, cause those things are driving all over the place.
You were a pilot, you have to be approved as a pilot community to
ride them.
legally have scooters in your town. And we are not.
Yeah.
So
e-scooters.
individuals
E-scooters.
can't own e-scooters.
Well, they can.
You just can't,
They just can't ride
Yeah.
them. What's wrong?
Probably on a public road, right?
So
you can ride in your driveway.
Are we
Sure, you can
ticketing
ride in
them?
your driveway.
And you can't ride them on
Are
a
we
sidewalk.
ticketing those individuals?
No,
Some
you
of
can't
whom I
ride
know.
Some are getting tickets, like
Yeah.
the individual was told.
Okay, so that's
That's-
what I wanted to verify. That is correct information.
It's correct, yeah.
So do we wanna become a pilot community? Is that anything we should look at? Because it is a conveyance, and especially for, like, the individuals I know that own them are down, like, they're going, what am I trying to say, horizontally. They're not necessarily going uphill on those things. Can you imagine coming down on one? I'm scared on my e-bike and I got my hands on the brake full time. Yeah, it's interesting. So which department do we feed that into when we have the next opportunity to do so?
Sarah, some info, some.
So it would come, you pull it out.
Yeah.
You can pull it out, I'm just making a note, and then we'll bring it back to council at the next regular meeting, so in August you can make a decision, you can read it. We haven't responded to them, but you can make a decision about whether or not you would like staff to move forward with, to become a pilot community.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to get the opinion of Development Services as far as active transportation, if that's anything that has been considered in the past, but I just wanted to, while it was there in front of me, understand a little better, because, yeah, I'm not riding one, I tried that in Cranbrook at the active transportation conference, and that was pretty flat, and I wasn't totally comfortable with it myself.
Councillor Page.
I don't wanna convolute anything, but I'm just gonna go back to something to talk about the bathrooms, and then I'm gonna come back to that. So currently Parks has referred off conversation about capital investments to develop a set of principles. That workshop is on the 22nd of July. It got moved around a few times, but we finally locked in a time. And specifically around that contribution, it's great that there's other funding opportunities, but it's also a leverage point, so I just don't wanna lose that moment to ask that question and get that expectation nailed down from rural directors about what a regionally significant park is and why those contributions should be part of our principles. And that project is, you know, the catalyst for that. And then
The CBT grant isn't 100% either, so.
so we'll keep hammering away at that, and it'll be good to know that, you know, on this year, principles aside, the ask will be smaller, but we'll try and get to the principles. And then on the other piece, I think right now, I think on our mobility side of things, I really wanna see us really manifest well, good training, good compliance around safety. I am very concerned about the number of severe injuries that we're seeing in other communities, and I don't wanna necessarily embrace another product out there.
On scooters?
The e-scooters, and I was using them at SCM too, and I'm all fine. I just it's just one other kind of distinctly different product out on the streets, out on the sidewalks. Sarah seems to have a question.
Not a question, just a comment.
Yeah.
Let's discuss it. I think it can be debated
Yeah, let's bring it up.
when it's brought forward.
Okay, great.
Okay, so, there's been
Late item now.
a recommendation from Councillor Payne to remove item number 2 from the correspondence list.
We'll refer.
How would you like that done?
So when a letter is included in the correspondence package, you as council can pull it out, and then we will place it on the next regular meeting agenda, at which time you will vote on whether or not you approve of it or how you want us to respond, or in this case, whether you want us to apply to the province as a pilot community. You will direct us, and then you'll see it in the next correspondence package.
So we don't need
No,
a
you want the
motion, we
direction,
just
I'm
pulled it out.
confused now, do you want the direction now?
No, I
Okay.
don't. I don't,
What would you like, what would you like the motion to be?
I wouldn't like any
Don't need a
motion
Okay,
at this point.
Okay.
Just that we're
Got it.
pulling it out because
Pulling it out, okay.
council has the right to pull out anything in correspondence that they would like to.
excellent. It's just that we've been trying to go back and forth to make sure that while we're directing staff to do something, that we have a resolution. This is a little bit different to me, that this is
It is
pulling
different.
something out
Yes.
and we're gonna get a resolution, but
Yes.
we're not voting on it, okay. Okay, perfect, I'm good, I'm golden. Anything else in correspondence, which we already passed once, but perhaps we need to pass the correspondence package again, or are we good?
I always miss it. Maybe next one.
I'm fine with it, but
Okay, that's fine, I'm good too, because we did pass it, so, okay, all golden there. So moving on to the last item, which is a late item, and regarding connection fees and development cost charges. So staff have identified an opportunity to review and modernize the city's current connection fee framework. Existing fees were established more than 20 years ago and have not been comprehensively reviewed during that time. Given changes to the provincial legislation, development practices, and municipal infrastructure planning, staff believes that it's timely to assess the city's current approach and ensure it remains aligned with current standards and best practices. As part of this review, staff are proposing to evaluate development cost charges, a framework commonly used by local governments throughout British Columbia. The review will help inform future council decisions regarding the city's long-term approach to development-related infrastructure funding. council is being asked to reprioritize the development services work plan to undertake this review in 2026 and defer the planned update to the subdivision and development services bylaw. So we have a recommendation in front of us. Is there a mover? Councillor Payne, seconded by Councillor Woodward. Councillor Payne.
That council directs staff to undertake a review and modernization of the city's connection fee framework, including evaluation of a development cost charge, known as a DCC framework, and reprioritize the 2026 Development Services Work Plan by deferring the Subdivision and Development Services Bylaw update. And further, that staff be authorized to reallocate existing budgeted funds as necessary to complete the review and report back to council with findings and recommendations for future consideration.
Perfect. Any questions or concerns to staff while we have them here with us? Oh boy, we're all quiet. We're ready. Are we setting a new record? 8:25?
Yes.
Not quite a new record. Anyhow, I'm seeing no further discussion or concerns. I think this is an excellent plan to move forward to this at this time, given the fact that the federal government is looking at funding and resource allocation that may involve some offsets for development cost charges or other things. We're hoping that they're gonna be flexible with their money and not just be locked into one particular aspect. But I think that getting this work done will be excellent then moving forward.
I do actually have a question.
Okay.
Sorry. Can I just get a little example of this? Like, I'm thinking of the Trevor Street extension. So that developer paid for the whole thing, but they will pay connection fees because it's prior to this new change. And they won't pay development cost charges, obviously, that contribute to the rest of the community the way this does. I'm not saying that correctly, but do you know what I mean? They're
similar. So for the Trevor Street development, they had to both install the road, the infrastructure. They also had to pay connection fees.
yeah.
Those fees go into our reserves for our utilities.
Okay.
DCCs are gonna be similar to that. Yeah, just a bit.
That's just one example of how that works.
That's right, yeah, exactly.
I was pretty sure, but I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further questions or concerns, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff, for staying. Thank you for bringing forward this late item so that we can get that work plan adjusted. Because this plan will take actually a little bit of time. So this isn't gonna be done in 2026. This will be going forward. And the next council will be making additional decisions around DCCs. But at least that work will be there for them to look at.
That's right. It'll be started this year, but it probably won't really be kicked off until the end of the year, early 2027, and
Yeah.
I would anticipate about a year.
Yeah, exactly. So just for anybody that might be wondering how fast this kicks in, so there's gonna be projects that are in the mix that aren't gonna be affected by this at this time. I think that's always a key thing. People think, oh my God, they're adding more charges and like I'm in the middle of something, but stay in the middle of something, you're not gonna be affected.
That's right, and there will
Get it
also
in
be
now.
community engagement as well as
Right.
builder developer engagement, so there'll be lots of opportunities for people to come and chat with us.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that additional information. Okay, council, we've made it to the end of the night. It was a very busy day and we worked through dinner and I think we got a lot done this evening. So I'm in favor of a resolution to adjourn.
Can I have a question before that?
Sure.
So I know we've gone alternate meetings for council reports, but we normally have a CAO report at each meeting, so we don't have one today.
No.
Agenda. Okay. Okay, but that is our normal, we do normally get a report every meeting. Okay, so this is an anomaly. Look forward to hearing more from you in 2 weeks.
Okay, so if I could have a motion to adjourn, Councilor Woodward, second by Councilor Pinero, all those in favor? and that carries.
Shoot, I did wanna ask for like, what was the final numbers at the FIFA event? That would, like, the staff was just unbelievable there. Was the
Yeah.
whole day, it was so cool.
Yeah, we estimated
Lease,
just over 3.
parts, and
Yeah,
that garbage was just being picked up.
Yeah, stuff was great.
it was so cool.
Yeah.
Did such a good job.
Yeah.
Did such a good job, like,
Yeah.
I think probably some of the people were there for